The Velcran human peace accords had stood unbroken for 5 centuries. In all that time, through trade disputes, territorial disagreements, and cultural misunderstandings, not a single shot had been fired between the two species. It was considered the galaxy's greatest diplomatic achievement, a testament to rational minds choosing cooperation over conflict. Until today, Jackson crouched behind the overturned medical transport, his hands still trembling as he checked on Anna. The plasma bolt had missed her by centimeters, leaving a smoking crater in the hull where her head had been moments before. "I'm fine," Anna said, though her voice was tight. She clutched her medical kit like a lifeline, her auburn hair matted with dust from the explosion. "Jackson, we have to get to those wounded Velcrans. The ceasefire protocol just got violated," Jackson interrupted, scanning the ridgeline where the shot had originated. "Someone just tried to kill a medic, a human medic during a relief mission." The irony wasn't lost on either of them. They'd been invited here by the Velcran government itself, responding to a natural disaster that had devastated 3 colonies. Earthquakes. No politics, no military conflict, just people who needed help. And someone had opened fire on the relief workers. Anna's jaw set in that stubborn way Jackson had come to recognize over their 2 years working together. "Then we work faster. Those people are dying, and whoever shot at us doesn't speak for their government." She was right, of course, but Jackson had studied enough history to know what happened when ancient treaties broke. The Velcran human war 500 years ago had lasted 30 years and cost billions of lives on both sides. It had only ended when both species stood on the brink of mutual extinction, when the casualties had become so catastrophic that continuing meant annihilation. Humans had learned something in that war, something that had puzzled the Velcrans ever since. Humanity didn't fight like other species. They didn't calculate acceptable losses or strategic withdrawals. When pushed to the edge, when their people were threatened, humans became something else entirely. They called it going to war. The Velcrans had learned to call it the human madness. A transmission crackled through Jackson's comm. It was Ambassador Thelvar, the Velcran liaison officer. His translated voice carried barely controlled panic. "Human medical team, respond. We have confirmed the shooter as a radical separatist faction. This was not sanctioned. I repeat, this was not sanctioned by the Velcran government. Please confirm your status." Jackson thumbed his comm. "We're intact, Ambassador. But someone tried to kill Medic Anna. You understand what that means?" There was a long pause. When Thelvar spoke again, his voice was hollow. "Yes, I understand. 500 years of peace, because of one extremist's stupidity." "It's not over yet," Anna said suddenly, grabbing Jackson's arm. She'd been monitoring the local medical channels. The Velcran Field Hospital just sent out a distress call. They're trapped in a collapsed building, 27 casualties. They're requesting immediate human assistance. Jackson stared at her. "They're requesting us? After someone just shot at you?" "They're doctors, Jackson. Same as us." Anna was already repacking her kit, checking supplies. "And they know something important." "What's that?" "They know that humans keep our oaths. Even when others break theirs, it was true. In 500 years of peace, human medics had become legendary across Velcran space. They worked longer hours, took greater risks, and had a bizarre tendency to treat enemy wounded with the same care as their own people. The Velcrans found it incomprehensible. Their own medical ethics were excellent, but they were logical about it. Humans seemed to operate on something beyond logic when it came to saving lives. Jackson made the decision. "Ambassador, we're proceeding to the Velcran Field Hospital. Coordinates uploading now. But I need something from you." "Anything," Thelvar said immediately. "Find that shooter. Before my government does." The unspoken threat hung in the air. If Earth's military got involved, if they decided the peace had been broken, the response would be overwhelming. Humans didn't do proportional retaliation. They did total war. "Understood. My people are already hunting him. He will face Velcran justice." Anna and Jackson moved quickly through the rubble-strewn streets. The destruction from the earthquake was catastrophic. Buildings reduced to skeletal frames, infrastructure shattered. But that wasn't what struck Jackson most. It was the Velcran civilians who stopped to watch them pass, their chromatic skins shifting through colors that their translation software rendered as surprise and hope. They reached the collapsed hospital in 17 minutes. The structure had pancaked, 3 floors compressed into 1.5. Anna immediately began coordinating with the trapped Velcran doctors inside via comm, while Jackson assessed the structural integrity. "We can get them out," Anna said, "but it'll take hours and we'll need to shore up that support beam first or the whole thing comes down." Jackson was already moving, pulling equipment from their transport. Around them, Velcran civilians began to gather, then to help. No one gave orders. They simply saw what needed doing and did it. Human and Velcran, working side by side, racing against time and gravity. 6 hours later, when the last Velcran doctor was pulled from the rubble, Jackson sat down heavily on a chunk of broken concrete. Every muscle ached. His hands were torn and bleeding. Anna looked worse, covered in dust and blood that wasn't hers, swaying on her feet from exhaustion. Ambassador Thelvar approached them, his skin cycling through colors that indicated deep respect. "We have captured the shooter. He will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of our law." He paused. "You came anyway. After he tried to kill you, you still came." Anna looked up at him, too tired for diplomacy. "We're medics. Someone needed medical attention. Nothing else matters." "That," Thelvar said quietly, "is why the treaty has lasted 500 years. Because humanity, for all your capacity for terrible violence, has an equal capacity for terrible mercy." Jackson managed a tired smile. "Let's hope it lasts another 500. I'm too exhausted for a war." Later, as they flew back to the human compound, Anna stared out at the Velcran cities below, lights glimmering in the gathering dusk. "Do you think we almost started a war today?" "Maybe," Jackson admitted. "Or maybe we just prevented one. The peace would hold. Not because of treaties or diplomats or military deterrence, but because one human medic had decided that saving lives mattered more than revenge. Because when someone tried to kill her, she'd responded by saving 27 of their people instead." That was the thing about humans that the galaxy was still learning. They were capable of holding two seemingly contradictory truths at once. They would go to war with devastating ferocity to protect their own, but they would also risk everything to save a stranger. The Velcrans called it contradiction. Humans called it humanity, and for another 500 years at least the treaty would hold.